Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Brian. I am joining you live from Studio B at Science World. I wanted to begin by gratefully acknowledging Science World is located in the traditional unceded Squamish, Musqueam, and Tsleil-Waututh village site of Sinnock. We encourage you to find out more about the traditional territories that you reside on and some of the people who have been stewarding those lands for so many years. This is an exciting day for us. We have a special guest here today. This is Joey. Hey, Joey.
Hey, Brian. Hello, everyone that's joining online here. Nice to be here.
So, Joey, you are here from BC Hydro. What is the job you get to do? You kind of travel around or connect to people like this?
Yeah, totally. So my job is very much similar to what you just described. We educate British Columbians on a number of different topics, including electrical safety and how we generate electricity here in BC.
Fun. Now, this is a special week we have right now, isn't it?
Yes, it is. So May 10 to 16 is Electrical Safety Week. So we're going to be showing you some ways that you can stay safe around electricity.
Oh, very fun. Joey and I are not the only ones here in Studio B today. We're widely separated just to keep things nice and safe for social distancing. But in addition to Joey and myself, we also have Madeline, who is running all the cameras and making all the magical things happen that way. Look, I'm zooming in and I'm zooming back. Amazing. We also have Fabio, who is looking at your comments. Please feel free to respond if you see things that you like, if you things that are find cool, if you want to see more of. We're going to be asking questions. We encourage you to ask questions, and we'll try and answer those at the end. In fact, one of the first things we would love, we've told you a little bit about where we're joining you from. If you want to let us know where you're watching from, what city, or if you're here with your class, what grade you're in, we'd love to hear more about all the people who are watching and joining us here today. Fabio, everything coming up nicely on your comments that way? Perfect. Well, in terms of electrical safety, I wanted to start off by showing ways you can make electricity at home. You can generate some charge. In fact, I'm going to grab my high-tech pieces of scientific equipment here. In the chat, let me know if you have an idea how I could use something like this to possibly generate some static charge. Different ways we can make things. Now, of course, Joey, when we're using electrical energy in our homes, it's not just with balloons. How do they generate those kind of electricity?
Yeah, so we supply electricity to British Columbians through the use of water through hydroelectricity generation.
Oh, fun. Have you had a chance to visit any of the big dams?
No, unfortunately not, but I do look forward to the day where I do get to check it out.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I know other members of Joey's team who have traveled all around the province and visiting schools and such. Fabio, any ideas? How can we make charge using this amazing balloon device? Oh, nice. New Westminster, Coquitlam, welcome. Great to have you here. We recognize there is always a little bit of a delay when we hear your responses or see them typed in the chat there. All right, I'm going to try something here. I'm going to make some charge by rubbing this, making a very lovely sound as I rub that on my head. Some people might claim that this is not going to be as effective because my head does not have something that many heads have. You can put that in the chat too if you have an idea. Any other ideas coming in, Fabio? Oh, Kitsilano. Good to have you. All right, I'm going to try something. We rub. Hi-ya! Static charge sticking to the wall. Madeline, can you let me know, is that actually in shot? Can we see our lovely balloon? Perfect. All right, I'm going to step things up a little bit. I'm going to move over here to another camera and show you a bigger device. This is called a Van de Graaff Generator, and it's very similar to what I was doing rubbing the balloon on my head. We're actually going to use this to rub a big rubber band around and make some static charge up here. Now, the first thing I want to try is we're going to put some little pie plates on top there. And I want to let you know, some of you may have studied a little bit about this in class. Some of you might remember studying about this in the past. But when you have a lot of the same type of charge, one of two things generally will happen. You can either have things that will attract, stick together, or you're going to have things that will repel and push apart. So make a prediction. Share in the chat what you think might happen there. Joey, have you had a chance to work with Van de Graaff generators before?
Yes, I have.
Oh, nice. Yeah, it's one of my favorite demonstrations to get to do. Okay, So we've got some predictions coming in. The other thing, don't even necessarily worry about typing it in the chat, but share with the people you're with right now. You can call out or whisper to the people around with you. What is your prediction about what's going to happen to these little pie plates if we charge up this big dome? So there's a lot of extra static charge. Something else to point out around electrical safety. We are using some high voltage electrical devices today. I've been trained to use them in a very safe way. And one of the key things is I always make sure I only ever plug in one device at a time. So right now, I'm going to plug this first one in, and we're going to wire it up and begin spinning that rubber band. Fabio, any predictions coming in so far? Not so much. All right, that's okay. Share them with each other as we go. Here we go. We build up the charge, and in this case with similar charges, they repel. They push away, and you notice those pie plates begin to float all the way down. I don't know if anyone mentioned this in the chat before, but something that often when people talk about making static electricity by rubbing a balloon, they say rub it on your hair. And Joey, I acknowledge I'm not well loaded in the hair department. Some of you might have noticed before, we have a guest star who will be part of the show right now. All right. I haven't come up with a name for the guest star yet, but if you have an idea, please feel free to add that in the chat as well. Here, similar to the pie plates, we have hairs that are touching the body of our little pony here. They're touching each other's hairs. Make your prediction about what might happen if we give those similar charges. We're going to fire things up here, slowly but surely. And you may notice as things repel, those hairs begin to go up. That is a stylish pony we have going on up here.
Very trendy.
Very stylish. We do want to emphasize, never do this to a real horse if you happen to find a Van de Graaff generator lying around your pasture. We can take away a little bit of that charge and make the hair go down or back up again, down and up. I nicknamed this hair aerobics, going back and forth. Any names, any other predictions coming in there, Fabio? Antonio, I like that. Antonio with the very boisterous hair going on. Pink. Pink is a good name. Yeah, it's not just a pop star, it's also a horse. I think we've got some extra things about electrical safety. Joey, is there someone from your team who might be speaking to us now?
Yeah, so we got Dave here joining us on us, and he'll be talking about electrical safety, specifically to touch potential. So I'll hand it over here to Dave, and he'll be taking over here.
The electricity we use in BC travels all across the province, over fields and mountains and valleys, through cities and towns, and right into your home, school, and anywhere else that has lights to turn on. Utility poles move both high and low voltage electricity. We put those power lines way up high because the further you can be away from them, the safer you are. Power lines are made out of a material that's highly conductive, which means it's very easy for electricity to flow through them. They act like a perfect little river for electricity to flow quickly and without much resistance. But if something gets in the way, or even just a little too close, like a kite, a ladder, or a human body, the electricity could choose to take any one of those paths instead. And then, zap! This is called touch potential, because it's the ability electricity has to find its way through your touch to get to the ground.
Hello, welcome back everyone. So Joey, touch potential, that seems like something to be aware of. If you're going to touch something, it could zap you a little bit. Speaking of our ponies before, I was inspired to try. If you have an idea for an animal you'd like to see me make here, feel free to add that in the chat. I will attempt to create that a little bit later on. Joey, have you ever experienced a little static electric shock? Have you ever had that, like touching a doorknob or something?
Yeah, I had that. It's actually rubbing my foot on the carpet there and then touching a doorknob.
Yeah, if that's ever happened to you, let us know in the chat there. We'd love to hear about those. Those are cases where it gives you an idea of electrical safety, of the way it can travel, that whole idea of touch potential, hopefully in a little bit safer way. I'm going to move over to the Van de Graaff generator again and show you in a slightly larger way. So over here, our Van de Graaff generator, we saw we can build up that charge. Right now I'm going to build some charge and let it jump across to this little ball You might be able to see a little bit of that. Someone pointed out a really neat observation in the chat, is that while we're using this static device, because I'm using a wireless microphone here, you sometimes hear a little bit of static coming through. There's actually electricity affecting both things. So let us know if it's ever hard to hear, but I think that's a cool little observation that someone made there. All right. Occasionally when we have our sparks coming across, you might see a little flicker on the screen too. That's coming from our cameras, not from your screens. Let's see if we can get a little spark. There we go. Just a little spark coming across. Now, because I know this device has high voltage but very low current, I know that it's safe for me to touch. Someone gave me a great way of describing that once. If you can think of voltage, if it was electricity kind of like a waterfall, voltage would be how high the water is falling from, and the current would be how much water is falling on top of you. So if there's only a little drop coming from very high, it's not likely to do as much damage, but if there's a whole bunch falling, it's going to do a lot of damage, and you want to be careful around that. That's one reason you don't want to ever play around electrical devices, electrical wires. Joey, should people ever play around BC Hydro equipment?
No, actually, in fact, you should stay away from all BC Hydro equipment just for electrical safety. So
excellent.
Yeah.
I'm going to try something, because when we train our staff to do this demonstration, you have to be used to the fact that you may occasionally get a little zap. You might have seen I got a tiny little zap there. I will let you in the chat decide. Should I give myself a safe little zap, or should I not have to do that today? Entirely up to you. I put my fate in your hands. Just like we see the little sparks that can come across here, it's possible that little spark could come across to my fist. All right. I'm going to find out from you. Done in a safe way, but to demonstrate what can happen with touch potential. What is the verdict there? Am I safe, or do they want me to do this? I will still be safe, but what? Who thinks I should zap, Fabio? I want names. Chanel said yes. Thanks, Chanel. If you have a Judith in there, let me know, because I think my mom is watching. I'm hoping she's not going to turn on me too. All right, Chanel, for you to show touch potential. Yes. Well, I think we should move on from that now. I'm going to come back over to this camera. We mentioned before we're going to have some questions. Joey, do you have some questions for people about touch potential?
Yeah, so we should have a poll here coming up shortly on the page here. So my question for you here is, what do you think is touch potential? So we got 4 options. Option A, a dangerous zap from touching a live cable. Option B, the ability for electricity to reach the ground through your touch. Option C, rubbing your foot on the carpet to generate a shock. Or option D, none of the above. So take a moment, let us know here through the poll, and we'll reveal the answer here shortly.
Excellent. So yes, we recognize that you're going to be a little bit behind us just in terms of the broadcast. So A, a dangerous zap. B, ability for electricity to reach the ground through your touch. C, rubbing your foot on a carpet to generate a shock. D, none of the above. Interesting. Touch potential. Are we getting some answers coming in there, Fabio? All right, it seems to be skewing towards A at this point. There, do you get percentages? Do you get like a nice little charts coming out of this at all, or not yet? All right, the wonderful world of polling. All right, well, Joey, it looks like they're leaning towards A. What is the actual answer?
Well, let's take a look here. So the correct answer is actually option B. So that's the ability for electricity to reach the ground through your touch.
Okay, so all of these things can happen, but the main thing about touch is you're touching it and the electricity can reach the ground through you.
That's right.
Excellent. Well, I hear Dave has a little bit of extra information about us on how we can stay safe around electricity. Can we have a look at our next video?
A very dangerous situation is when a power line gets close to, or is in fact touching, the ground. Maybe from a tree falling over, or a car accident, or bad weather. Any situation where a power line's drooping or touching the ground poses a very serious hazard, because the ground all around it could be energized. If you find yourself within 10 meters of a down power line, the safest thing to do is shuffle your feet to move yourself away. If the ground you're standing on is energized, Taking steps or moving too quickly could cause the electricity to run up through one leg and down the other. And then, zap! This is called step potential, because it's the ability electricity has to move through your body as you step away from the source. The voltage of electricity is always highest at its source, and it decreases the further it travels. If you're ever caught near a down power line, stay safe by keeping your legs pressed together and shuffling heel to toe, never lifting a foot from the ground until you're at least 10 meters away from the down power line.
Welcome back, everyone. Well, Joey, that is an exciting technique to keep in mind. I think we might try that, practice that a little bit later on. I wanted to try a little device here. Do you have one of these energy sticks over there?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit about how electricity can conduct through different things. Oh, in fact, you know what? We forgot something else entirely. Joey, what is that large cable you have over there?
Oh, this one. So this is actually an example here from our power line. So as you can see, it's a pretty thick material, and the material inside of it is made of a very conductive material.
Metal. So it's an easy way for the electrical energy to travel down something like that. This is our cable for the Van de Graaff and other machines. So it's not quite as thick, but again, we're not carrying quite as much energy, so we don't need as much there. All right, we want to try this. This is a fun little device you can actually find in toy stores, science stores, hobby stores. Again, very low energy, but it allows us to form a circuit. There's some metal on one side, some metal on the other, but to connect them, we're not going to use a wire or a big cable like Joey has over that. I'm going to use my body. I'm going to hold on with this side. Hold on, do you want to go simultaneously with me here, Joey?
Yeah, let's do it.
3, 2, 1. And you will notice the electrical energy is able to flow through our bodies. It can conduct things. Now, I'd be curious to hear from you out there in the chat. What are some other things that you think electrical energy will flow through? What are some things we can put the current through? We can test them. I've got a ring. I've got a watch. Got a face, a head. What other things? Joey, what things might you have over there?
Well, I think I got everything you got, except I got a little bit more hair.
Coming back to that again there, too. Yeah, we always love to try experiments. If you have something you'd like to test to see if it will be what we call a conductor that lets the electricity come through, or an insulator, it prevents it from coming through. Oh, and actually, I'll check in on while we're waiting for that. Fabio, were there any requests for an animal to make out of the balloon? A balloon worm. The best. Look, I've made a balloon worm. All right, if you have other animals, we may stretch my skills a little more. Anything people wanted to test for conductivity? Oh, interesting. I like that water idea. Well, tell you what, I'm going to build to that. I'm going to start Joey.
Yep.
Do you have a ring?
I do, yes.
All right, let's both test our rings. I'm going to hold on one side, touch to the ring. All right, so ring's a good metal there. I'm going to touch the leather on my watch strap. Again, you can share with people there whether you think this will conduct or not. All right, I'm your mention of hair. All right, let's both try our heads.
Let's give it a shot.
All right.
Nothing on my end.
So clearly, skin will conduct, but hair not so much. All right, somebody mentioned water, and this brings up a really good point. You want to be especially careful around water with electricity. Water, particularly salt water, is a very good conductor of electrical energy. Now, I've got another one of these energy sticks that we've done something special to. This time, one end I'm going to hold on to. The other end is attached to this wire. And this wire is going to go into a little glass of water. Now, again, I really want to stress, I'm doing this because we know it's very low current. We know it can be done safely. Do not experiment with water and electrical energy at home. Okay, I'm not going to touch the wire. I'm just going to put my finger in the water. And you will see that electrical current is able to pass through the water, through me, and light up the circuit. One of my favorite times doing this demonstration, we sometimes do it and make a big circle of people to see how many will come through. We were doing this at night out in a forest, and I grabbed one side, someone else grabbed the other side, and normally we would have to touch. We would have to complete the circuit, but it still lit up, and we realized it was because the grass between us was a little bit wet, and that moisture was conducting the electricity. That's another reason, very similar to what we're talking about with step potential. If you're stepping close to an electrical wire that's on the ground, It's not just going to go through the wire, it's going to go through the ground. Joey, we saw the example of shuffling in there. Do you think you can show us an example of that shuffle technique?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, if you ever find yourself in a situation where you've got a down power line, what you would want to do is shuffle your way away from it. So the way you do that is keep your legs tightly pressed against each other, and then you'd want to shuffle heel to toe, like this, never lifting a foot. So once you've reached beyond 10 meters, then you'd want to call 911 and warn others around you.
Excellent. I just want to give special shout out to Madeline for coaching me on my camera technique there for the foot cam. I have never been a foot cam person before. Oh, and all right. I'm also figuring out where I am on this camera. Very nice. Well, I'm wondering, you talked about being 10 meters away. That's not something that's necessarily something I can think of immediately about. How far is 10 meters? So to help us with that, we have our friend Dave again. Dave, how far is 10 meters?
Hi everybody, Dave from BC Hydro here. I want everybody to know if you see a down power line, you should stay back at least 10 meters. But how far is 10 meters anyway? Don't worry, I'm gonna show you now. So imagine there's a down power line right here, and this is 10 meters away. It's further than you'd think. It's about the length of a yellow school bus. Now, if you're out for a winter walk and you come across a down power line, don't panic. What you need to do is shuffle away to a safe distance. Now, once you're 10 meters away or more, pick up your phone and dial 911. Remember, if it's down, it's a danger. Always dial 911 to stay safe.
Awesome. That was super helpful to think of. Joey, when you think of 10 meters, is there a landmark you use for that? How long does that feel like for you?
Well, for me, I like to think of it as roughly the equivalent of a length of a school bus. So
Yeah.
that's about 10 meters.
Yep, that makes sense. All right. I hear you've got another question for us. What's coming up here?
Yeah, so my next question for you here is what is step potential? So again, let us know through the poll here. So we got 4 options. It's electricity moving through your body as you step away from the source. It's how many steps you can walk in a day. It's a new dance move, or is it the safety shuffle? So again, appreciate all the contribution here, and let us know through the poll.
Yeah. Click on there. If you're in a classroom, you can share with everyone or decide amongst yourselves what your classroom answer will be. Electricity moving through your body, how many steps you can walk in a day. I like that as a step potential. The potential number of steps I have in me. A new dance move or the safety shuffle. Again, if you are joining us from a classroom, feel free to let us know where you're joining from. We'd love to hear what grades we've got out there or what areas of the province. All right, Fabio, do we have some answers coming in?
So far, A is winning.
A is winning. All right. The actual answer here, Joey.
Yeah, let's check it out. It's option A. So the electricity moving through your body as you step away from the source. So looks like everyone got that correct. So congratulations.
Excellent. Well, Joey, while you've got you on screen there, we have a little device next to you that we wanted to show people. Do you mind flicking that on for us?
Yeah, so here we go.
Oh, there we go. So this is something called a Jacob's ladder. And in this case, we're getting something called arcing going on. A little bit like what we had with the Graaff Generator, where we built up charge on one thing and it wanted to find a path to the ground. One of those wires has extra electric potential, extra charge, and it's jumping across to the other one. The other kind of interesting thing is as it burns through the air, it makes an easier path to go. And that's why you see that little spark rising up. Another thing you might think about is when you have all this energy coming through, it is heating up the air. And I'll leave you in your classes or in the chat to think about, why would that spark be moving up? If you have an idea, you can put it in there, or you can ask us later on that. All right, speaking of arcing, why don't we take a look at a video about that?
In some instances, high voltage electricity can actually jump through the air to find a path to ground. This is called arcing because of the shape it usually takes through the air. Stay as far away from a down power line as you can. You can help do your part in keeping everyone safe around electricity by sharing what you've learned with your family and friends. Stay safe, everybody.
All right. Interesting things there. Oh, I wanted to check in. Any requests for non-worm animals? Dolphin? Excellent. Dolphin and King Kong. All right. Well, tell you what, during this next game show segment, I will attempt to create one of those for you off camera here. Joey, have you got another question for us about arcing?
Yeah, so here we got another question here for the poll. So what is arcing? So is it an electric frisbee? It's the shape of electricity as it moves through the air. It's electricity jumping through the air to reach the ground, or is it option B and C? So let us know here through the poll.
It's a fun way to frame a question. Option D is B and C. All right, electric frisbee, shape of electricity, electricity jumping through the ground or the air to reach the ground. As you're figuring that out, I apologize. You're going to hear some very squeaky sounds as I attempt to create our device here. And we will see what we have created in just a moment. All right, Fabio, what is our number one choice out there? D. All right. What is our least selected choice out there? Oh, man, I wish there were electric frisbees in the world. Although that's another thing I think you'd have to figure out how to be safe. Joey, what is our actual answer?
Yeah, so it looks like everyone's got this right again. It is both option B and C. So congratulations.
Excellent. We have created something here. I'm going to reveal it to you in just a moment. Before that, I did want to check in. Is there anyone else who's shared where they're joining us from? Any other fun questions that have been coming up in the chat there, Fabio? Oh. Whistler, Kelowna. Great to have you here with us. All right. We had requests for King Kong and a dolphin. I've opted for King Kong. And the very, very rare, even more extreme King Kong. It is King Kong, King of the Apes, in a poodle costume. Seldom before seen. I'm going to move over here because we have another vote for you going on. All right, back over onto this screen. I want to show you, this is another device. This one is called a Tesla coil. Now, some of you may have heard of a famous inventor, Nikola Tesla. This is one of his inventions, and it broadcasts electrical energy through the air. One of the things it can do is actually light up light bulbs from a little bit further away. It's a similar technology to what we've extended now to do things like Wi-Fi, to send communications wirelessly through the air. But it also does a pretty extreme job of doing those arcs we were talking about, arcing through the air. Now, I'm going to step over for a moment there. Again, and we're keeping nice and safe. I'm only going to plug in one thing at a time. And I want to make sure I have my grounding rod. So we have our grounding rod over here. I'm going to plug this in. We're going to show you a few little arcs. Again, watch carefully on your screen. Sometimes just from the amount of electrical energy flowing through the air here, we may get a little bit of interference. You might even see a little flicker on your camera. If that happens, let us know. We'd love to hear about that. It's not happening on your end. It's happening on our end with the cameras coming through. We're going to plug this guy in. And we make a little spark. Now we're going to allow that spark to go down into the ground through the grounding rod. And there again, you might see a little flicker on my camera. The final question, knowing what we know about arcing, knowing what we know about touch potential, knowing what we know about step potential, do you think it would be a good idea for King Kong in a poodle costume to get too close to that arc? You can put that, in fact, you know what, we'll put this, do we have this as a poll, or is this something? All right, Fabio's going to put up a poll. Do we zap our Sparky, or do we not zap our Sparky? It is entirely up to you. You are making the choices here. I'm just going to prepare Sparky as we go on there. As we're doing this as well, if you have any questions about electrical safety, about any of the demonstrations you've seen in the show, about any of the things going on, feel free to add them to the chat. Is this an opportunity? Actually, can we flip to one of the websites? We're interested in, Joey, where can people learn a little bit more about some of these electrical things?
Yeah, for sure. So if you want to learn more about electrical safety, you can check out our website here at schools.bchydro.com for more information about electrical safety.
Yeah, and I think there's actually a whole website this week for all the electrical safety things. We'll pop that up on the screen for you as well. I'm going to come over here and show you our King Kong there. All right. I'm finding my framing here. Thank you very much, Madeline. You know what? I'm going to move back over to the big camera for this because I'm always curious to see what our audience will decide. So, Fabio, first, do you know how many votes we have in on this? Wait, we have 20 votes and 100% of you have said Zap Sparky. All right. Well, we understand about electrical safety, Sparky. I'm sorry for what may be about to happen to you. Here we go. A moment of silence, please, for our good friend Sparky. And please keep this in mind. If you are around high voltage devices, if you're around power lines, don't be like Sparky. Stay safe. Don't get into touch potential. Remember your shuffle step for your step potential. I'm going to come back over here because we're curious about your questions. So if you have any questions, again, about anything that you've seen here today, let us know coming through. Joey, I had a question for you.
Yep.
Oh, I'm going to come back this way a little bit more there. We talked a bit about zapping yourself on a doorknob or anything like that. Yeah, I'm trying to think of a time that I remember once when I was very small, I got too close to an electrical plug, and it had a little bit of a flash. It scared me a little bit that way. What are some of the questions we've got coming in? Oh, Sparky was a great dog. Goodbye, Sparky. Well, technically he was a King Kong in a poodle costume, but in any case, yes, Godzilla versus Kong has nothing on Tesla Coil versus Kong.
Nope.
All right. Some other things to think in there. The shuffle there. How many schools have you demonstrated that in, Joey?
Oh, we've demonstrated to a number of schools here. I don't have the exact number off the top of my head, but again, it's just one of those things we encourage people to think about especially during Electrical Safety Week. When you see a down power line, stay back 10 meters, call 911, and shuffle your way away from that 10 meters.
Yeah.
And in general, you'd want not touch any of BC Hydro's electrical equipment just to stay safe around it. So that's our message here for you today.
Stay safe, stay back, stay well away from it there. If you look on Science World's YouTube page, you can actually see some of our earlier shows that we've had to do or been allowed to do with some of our other friends from BC Hydro. One of them, a linesman, talks about having to work with a car that had a power line fall on it and just what's involved in keeping things safe in that scenario. All right. Any other questions, Fabio? Why did the balloon pop? Oh, excellent question coming through there. Well, think a little bit about the kinds of things that make a balloon pop. What kinds of things can pierce the outside there? Think also about the fact that we had our little arc coming across there. So the arc going down into the ground, it's coming through the air, but it's very, very hot. It heats that air up to a very, very high temperature. So it's actually able to melt through the side. It was going from the Tesla coil down into the grounding rod, but sadly little Sparky was in between. So that high energy, all that heat came right through and popped him. That is a great question. All right, Fabio, anything else people are curious about? Oh, I love that. Plastic slides in the playground. Why does that zap you? We talked a little bit like rubbing the balloon on the head. Oftentimes when you rub two surfaces together, depending on the materials, you can transfer little particles they call electrons from one to the other. And electrons are really kind of the building blocks of charge. So when you slide down that slide, you are actually either taking away electrons from yourself or giving yourself some extra ones. You're building up charge, just like rubbing the balloon on the head. You are the balloon, and the slide is like a big head. I've seen that on a lot of the plastic slides. Certain plastic materials are really great for building up charge that way. And if you look at really little kids coming down, sometimes with very fine, light hair, they actually will have their hair look a little bit like our pink pony earlier today.
Yeah. I think we got another question here, and I
Yeah.
think the question was, where does electricity come from? So we generate electricity here in BC through hydroelectric generation. So
Yeah.
we use water and hydroelectric dams to generate electricity for the province.
Yeah, it comes through, it spins around and turning that movement energy into electrical energy.
That's right.
Yeah, we're very fortunate here. Fabio, any other questions on your side? Why do you need to be 10 meters away? That's a good point. I mean, if the power line is right there, but you're not touching it, Joey, why do you need to be a full 10 meters away?
Yeah, so the reason for that is because the area around that down power line is energized. So obviously the further away you are from it, the safer you are. So that's why we would say stay back 10 meters. And then once you're at that safe distance, call 911 and warn others around you.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Any last question there, Fabio? What is the name of the skeleton behind you? You know what? We have not come up with a name for our little body model there. If you have suggestions, we'd love to hear those. You had some great suggestions for other things we could name. We encourage you, if there are other things you are curious about, we shared some of the BC Hydro websites, but we'll repeat that again. Joey, where can they go for BC Hydro info?
Yeah, for more information on electrical safety and some of our schools program, feel free to check out schools.bchydro.com for more information.
Nice. You can also find lots of fun demonstrations and activities that you can try at home. If you go to scienceworld.ca/resources, we have all kinds of things. There's also a section of our website called the Dome at Home, where you can find recordings of many of these other shows, short videos of things you can try at home, and links to all of these great activities. Joey, thank you so much for joining us here today.
It's a pleasure, Brian, and thanks for all the participants joining online.
Yeah, it's been great to see you all. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
We're live from Studio B. Bye.